now you're within that 1 year window. And there are a lot of misconceptions about this 1 year window that I want to get out up front. People say that 1 year has a presumptive window for everything, which is not true, not even slightly. Okay. So for instance, a lower back condition does not have a presumptive. Arthritis does, but not a degenerative disc disease in your back. No presumption there. It's going to require the big three. The big three now comes into play where they're looking at evidence from service, they're looking at your current diagnosis, and they're looking at the nexus. From BDD claim, where it's easy, that 1 year after discharge is kind of like here, right? Everyone else were over here. So you have BDD, easy. 1 year after is like still on the easy side. Once you tip that scale, this is everyone else. And then this is your really like Vietnam era peacetime veterans.
You're doing like pop-up graphs and things like I do. I love it.
Yeah.
That's how I do them.
And so that's 1 year after discharge is good. It's easy, but there's not a presumption window for everything. Tinnitus, hearing loss, arthritis has a 1 year window. There's a lot of cancers that have tons of presumption years. Jason has talked about that a lot. But for the most part, it's still easy. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you my story on my lower back claim. I had zero evidence from service. Not a single complaint, not even on a exit exam, nothing.
I disagree. Your piece of evidence was your MOS.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's evidence other than medical. We'll get there.
Okay, okay. So medical evidence.
I had no medical evidence at all, which is most veterans that I talk to lack medical evidence from service, right? Which now brings in evidence other than medical, but there's a billion little factors into that. One of them is time. Go figure, right? So I have a back condition that you can tell has, through x-ray, deteriorated over time. It wasn't an impact, right? So if I fell off a roof last week, you would see a crack. That's an impact. It's cracks in the spine don't happen over time. It happens because a car wreck, an accident, some type of force happened, versus like a deteriorating condition over time. So I submit this claim. I'm probably about like 5-6 months out at this time. I have my CMP exam, and the examiner's like, oh, I see this condition. It definitely happened way more than the last 6 months, probably from service. And then they're asking me like what I did. I was like, hey, I was in the infantry. I deployed multiple times, did this, did that. And they're like, okay, boom, boom, boom. So although I had no medical evidence, now I had a good CMP examiner. That's also a factor on the table. Okay.
Huge.
The CMP examiner looked at evidence other than medical to make that nexus. Had the CMP examiner, which a lot of them do, only look at medical evidence because that's what they're trained to do, that would not have been service connected. Now, I want to talk about that same claim, Jason. Let's say I filed it 5 years. Let's say I filed it today, right? I've been out of the Marine Corps for 5-ish years, over 5 years now. If I filed that same back claim today and you would still see the deterioration over time, now the examiner can be like, well, although this deteriorated over time, it probably happened within the last 5 years. I don't see any medical evidence from service. You have evidence other than medical, but there's a big argument that it happened after service. Therefore, it's not service connected. And that's when we get into the weeds of everyone else, which we're going to talk about next, right? Most people fall into that everyone else category. But yes, that 1 year discharge, not presumptive, but way easier because time is not a factor. I'll leave it there. Let you take the rest.
All right. So the 1 year presumptives. Okay. So what the VA is saying here is that they have a list of conditions that they will determine to be presumptive. Presumptive is a powerful tool. Okay. It eliminates your need for a nexus. They just presume that it's due to your service. Okay. In this case, for the 1 year presumptives, which a lot of people don't really talk about. When you talk about presumptives, we're typically talking about Vietnam, Agent Orange stuff. We're talking about burn pits. That's kind of it. So when you look at the 1 year presumptive, it's essentially everybody that served and then you got out. And then within 1 year, if you develop any of these or get any of these things documented within 1 year, the VA just goes, oh yeah, that's service connected. You're done. Cool. We'll take care of you. That's awesome. Now, yes, there is a list of conditions, and I'm not going to bore people with reading it all off. And there's actually a specific reason for that. So it is in Title 38, the CFR Code, Federal Regulations 3.309 Alpha for the complete list of covered illnesses. However, I am, again, let the VA say no, right? Don't self-segregate out and go, well, you know, it's not on the list. Okay, look, chances are fine. Yeah, sure. They're probably going to deny it for presumptive, but now you've batted it over the net. Now they got it, or whatever, hit it with the racket, right? Over the net. Now it's got to come back. And if they do, then they do. You're kind of ready for that. And now you got a decision. I can do a supplemental, and I can go try to gather some more evidence, go get a Nexus letter, go get a buddy statement, go work on that other evidence, that other than medical evidence to, well, a Nexus letter from your doctor is medical evidence. So anyway, you can work on gathering more evidence to help support that claim. So don't leave it off the table if you know that it's service connected and you're just having a evidence issue, right? File for it anyway within the 1 year. You never know. They might rule in your favor. I wanted to just read directly off of the VA site here real quick, Clay, on this 1 year stuff. It's the 1 year after discharge. It says if you have a certain chronic, which we always talk about, right? Clay, chronic has to be a ongoing problem. So if you have a certain chronic, long-lasting condition or conditions that started within 1 year after your discharge from active duty military service, you may be eligible for VA disability compensation. Eligible conditions include high blood pressure, so hypertension, arthritis, diabetes, peptic ulcers, and others. Compensation obviously would provide you the monthly payments and so forth. So it just gives you a little snapshot of, wow, you know, I kind of had high blood pressure when I was in, right? We've all seen the guy or gal that's like, oh man, your blood pressure's high. You still have to wait here. You can't leave. Go rest in the other room. Go lay down, right? Go calm down, and we're going to do your blood pressure 17 times in the next 5 hours until we get a good reading, and then we're going to move you on. Well, if you go to your doctor after that and they're like, wow, you got high blood pressure, at least you're saved, right? Within that first year. Important. Now, the big thing here, Clay, I think, is that what I want to add in here is that there's also 4 conditions, and I know you know these too, that are the beyond 1 year presumptive, which basically, if you have any of these conditions within a certain time frame, then you want to make sure that you actually file a claim for these, because you shouldn't suffer with these conditions and not be service connected for them because you self-segregate out going, well, I have no documentation and it's been way past a year, right? So Hansen's disease, and that has a 3 year after discharge. So if you develop Hansen's disease within 3 years, the VA will just automatically service connect you. Tuberculosis, if that happens within 3 years after discharge, they'll automatically service connect you. Multiple sclerosis can appear within 7 years of discharge. If that shows up, you can be service connected for that automatically through presumptive. And then ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, anytime throughout a veteran's life, if you know somebody, you know, it's your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, your grandparents, your great uncle, whatever it is, if they have Lou Gehrig's disease, find out if they served if you don't know, right? Find out, because if they did, they can go get service connected for that and get a plethora of services, right? So with that, I'll kick it back to you, Clay.